Good morning, students. Today we are going to see the chapter Fiber to Fabric. Fiber to fabric means how the cloth is made from the fiber. Now, this fiber is a long and fine continuous filament or thread like structure. Filaments or fibers are of two types, natural and man made. Natural fibers are obtained from plants and animals. Man-made or artificial or synthetic fibers are, for example, acrylic, terylene, rayon, nylon, etc. Last year, we have learned about the natural fibers obtained from plants like cotton and jute. This year, you are going to learn about the fibers that is obtained from animals. For example, wool and silk. Wool. Wool mainly in India comes from sheep, goat, yak and some other animals. The fine hair provides the fibers for making wool. Some breeds of sheep possesses only fine under hair. Mainly we can say that these fine hairs are used for various purpose like making sweater and for various goods. Now when we select these animals for making the wool, this process is called as selective breeding. Now, what is this selective breeding? The process of selecting parents for obtaining special characters in their offspring, such as soft underhair in sheep, is termed as selective breeding. Here, particularly, the characters are selected for purpose of wool or getting wool. Now, from fibers to wool. For obtaining wool, there are so many processes: rearing, cutting, and the fibers are obtained into the wool. Now, processing fibers into wool. The first step is the removal of the thin layer of skin from the body with wool. This is called as shearing. Second step, the sheared skin with hair is thoroughly washed in the tanks to remove the dust, grease, etc. That is called as scouring. So the first step is shearing, second is scouring, third step is sorting, where different textures of this wool is separated. Fourth step is the removal of burrs. The fluffy burrs are removed. Now this fifth step is the process of dyeing. The wool is dyed into different color. Sixth and last step, it is straightened, combed and rolled into yarn. So this yarn is further again used for weaving and knitting. Now this is occupational hazard. Occupational hazard mainly is found in the wool industry where the people are related with this job. This is also called as sorter's job. Here the people are infected with the bacteria called anthrax. It is a fatal disease, it is a fatal blood disease, and it is very risky job. The last, that is the life history of the silk moth. Next, the fiber that we get from animal is the silk, very important in India. Now the life history about the silk. The female silk moth lays the egg from which the hatch larvae called as caterpillar or the silkworm. This silkworm rapidly grows into the size and it feeds on the mulberry leaves. Now this the next step of the caterpillar is called pupa. Then it swings in its head and forms the egg-like structure. During this movement of the head, the caterpillar secretes the fiber made up of protein, which hardens on the exposure of air, and it becomes the hard, called as the silk fiber. Soon the caterpillar completely cover itself, and this covering is also called as cocoon. Silk. Now the process, the rearing of the silkworm for obtaining the silk is called sericulture. Processing of the silk yarn is obtained from the cocoon of the silk moth, and the most common silk moth is the mulberry silk, which is cultured or reared in India for getting the silk. The silk is very soft, lustrous, and elastic, and it can be dyed into beautiful colors. Now, from cocoon to silk, how it is processed. For obtaining the silk, the moths are reared and their cocoons are collected to get the silk threads. A female silk moth lays hundreds of eggs. These eggs are stored carefully on the strips of the cloth or paper and sold to silkworm farmers. The farmers keep these eggs under the hygienic conditions in the basket, bamboo baskets, and in the proper conditions. The eggs, they are kept under a proper temperature. This is done when the mulberry trees bear a fresh crop of leaves. The larvae, called the caterpillar or the silkworm, eats day and night and increases enormously in the size. The worms are kept in the clean bamboo trays along with the freshly chopped mulberry leaves. After 25 to 30 days, the caterpillar stops eating, moves to the tiny chambers of the bamboo, and spins the cocoons. Now, these cocoons are collected for getting the silk. This is the life cycle of the moth. You can see the bigger one is the female moth, which lays the egg, and the egg is converted into the hatched into the larvae or the caterpillar, and the last stage is the pupa, and the pupa weaves the cocoon or the silk that is woven and converted into the cocoon.